for speaking about Arampurul, especially when you spoke about the scholarships, how honesty is being treated as a trait for selecting the beneficiaries. Speaks volumes about the values being followed by Arampurul and also the beneficiaries, the students. Going ahead, can you speak about the gaps between the project design and the ground reality, especially the sectors you work in, healthcare, education, and livelihood?
Think in Tamil Nadu, let me talk the context of Tamil Nadu because Tamil Nadu, if it comes when it comes to education, uh, the we are far ahead in terms of many of the indicators. Like the government in the last 4 5 years have also is also focusing on excellence, also focusing on extracurricular, etc. There are at least a lot of investment that is being happening. So the gap that I see is is in the higher education. One is certainly in higher education. The number of students who are passing out of schools, that is 12th, and then they want to aspire to become a graduate is increasing every year. So we are right now close to a state average is about 60%. So which means that around 8 to 9 lakh students who pass out 12th or write 12th, about 7.5 lakh students pass, and about 6 lakh students get into higher education or wanting to get into higher education. And the free and the till about that time there are enough government schools. Government is the largest educator of the system. But then moment they come to higher education, there are not many schools and many colleges, etc., etc. Here the fees become exorbitantly high. So while there are scholarships that are being given, again the scholarship sometimes focuses on the creamy children, or sometimes very poor children who have got good marks but then very poor. But the gap exists in about students who are in the 60 to 80% marks, and then they have to pay higher fees, and then there may not be enough sponsors to spot them because they're not into that category. I think we are failing to understand, at least in Tamil Nadu for the decade, the aspiration of the people. The aspiration is no longer what we thought, in the 60s and 70s and 80s, where perhaps simple services could be enough. But today, children expect a lot more. Their understanding is much bigger. Their wanting is also very bigger. Their aspiration is also pretty high, which I don't think a classical NGO is able to meet it. Like for example, that's one major thing. So we were very good when we were in children. Like for example, before 10-year-old or a 13-year-old, but we don't know how to handle youths. Large section of the youth we are not in touch with, especially boys. That is one big gap that I see, both from a funding need perspective as well as from the NGOs who are working. So you don't find. Another gap is you don't actually while we all talk about missing girls, which we have addressed quite aggressively in the past and then find out, but there are a lot of missing boys, and then the missing boys both from the school and the college, and also there is no concerted effort to pull in youths and boys towards any kind of organization, any kind of a forum. That also the reason why the abusers, drug abusers, mental health problem, all of that happens because of that. And also an unemployment problem. See, for example, we work in raw, many of them are getting into colleges, but then we still are not able to offer quality education at the college level or an employment based opportunity at the college level. This is largely in the education sector.
It was quite interesting, Prasanna, especially the things you said about the missing boys. Because we always overlook the problems faced by the boys. Because Beti Padhao, Beti Bachao. So we always talk about girls' education and all that. So, boys dropping out of education and then taking to drugs, especially when, the usage of drugs has increased among youth in India, in many parts of India. So that was quite informative, especially what you have said about the missing boys. So, going to the next question, can you talk about the gaps in healthcare, especially the mental health?
While the government has done good work in terms of providing access to primary health centers, the MNH, that is maternal and health project, has largely been taken care, at least in Tamil Nadu, to a large extent. Mental health seems to have a huge gap because there is no access to either a doctor or a counselor or even a a bar or even a nurse. Like for example, you have an SHN, you have a VHN, you have an ASHA worker in people where they would be able to say, okay, this is what your health indicators are. This is what you need to take when you are pregnant, or this is how the immunization is. So, but there is no protocol. There is nothing to deal with the mental health. So mental health can come not only illness, the mental health that comes from violence, then bullying, a mental health that comes from drug addiction or alcohol addictions, the families that they have. There is no support system as such for that. That is another problem that I think is a gap. As if you have to say one gap in the health sector, where there is more focus on life skills and then mental health needs to go jointly.
So true, Prasanna. Mental health is a sector where there is considerable gap, and both the government and the NGO sector has to work in tandem to fill the gap. That is so true. Also, can you speak about the livelihood sector and the gaps, especially the rural livelihood?
If you take livelihood, I think one of the major problem Tamil Nadu will face and is facing is the household debt. I think rural household debt. I think from what I hear, I mean, say I don't see there is any concrete study. I think it should be around 1.5 to 2 lakhs. Household debt should be around that. Well, it can be seen as a good sign because people are confident to borrow money. People are confident to, they have that confidence to do something extra, etc., etc. But it also a concern, how far it would be, how far they will be able to manage the household debt. So that's a major so that I see as a major burning issue that I would call it, at least in the rural thing. The place that I am staying in Kalvarani, everybody is debt. Everybody has debt. So microfinance and penetration is quite high. Apart from microfinance, there's a cooperative loan, there's that loan, this loan. So some of them are expecting an education loan. That's another big challenge. There's a large chunk of expenditure is on the education loan. So that's again a major concern in terms of livelihood, etc., etc. And then I think we are also, in some sense, though we are making some noises here and there, is around the environment and climate change, etc., etc. I think we haven't figured out a way which we can balance the development as well as the livelihood part of it. For example, in the place that I am living, there are the FRA's land are being given to the farmers for a livelihood sake. Each one, on an average, gets about 3 to 4 acres of land, which in some sense were earlier forest land. Now they are being given as pata land. Now, we do not know while it will certainly improve the livelihood, we do not know yet what will be the climate and biodiversity damage it could actually offer. Because the moment the trees are converted into agriculture land, there is no way it is regenerated. So it will remain an agriculture land. So these are all some of the gaps in terms of causes that we are saying.
With what you have said, one thing is clear. Along with the microfinance, we also need the financial literacy. So if there is a balance, then it will work for the benefit of the rural India. With that, let's move on to the next question, which is we have identified the gaps. So now, how will the funders and the NGO fill these gaps? The next question. Your thoughts.
For example, there's also another trend that is happening. People who are in urban, have some work experience, worked in corporate, and then moving out to do a social work. They are able to tap into both the knowledge resources as well as the company for funding resources.
Are we seeing a corporatization of NGOs? Is that what is happening?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This has started when CSR funding became a mandatory.